Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this May 16th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we're on the EOA network. And this morning, it's just Doddsy and I.
Yeah. Yep.
Just shooting the bull. Yeah. How are you this morning?
Taking a break from guests. I'm good. It's first Friday. First Friday, and it's supposed to be a decent weekend. It's blue and gold for EOU. Be interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Let's see. What all has been going on? Yesterday on the sports show, Ben Welch, TJ Davis, Taylor Joyce. 3 interviews. I'm doing it like that just so I can get more people in front of the camera. You know what I mean? Talk to more people. I guess I could split them up, but I kind of like doing the same sport together. So I'm just kind of sticking with it like that. It makes the show over an hour long, though, and that's tough. That's because Ben likes to blab. Like that interview with Ben was like a 33-minute interview. Yeah, I try to shoot for like 10 to 15 minutes, and Ben ends up being 33 minutes. And Nicole too. The coaches usually take longer, but it's a really good interview with Ben. We talk about a few of his accomplishments, and then just the team this year. It's been a good year for them.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit. Go check them out. If you like disc golf, they got discs. Do you like stem products? They got stem products. If you like kendamas, they got kendamas. They have everything you can possibly think of. Paintball supplies. I mean, it's endless. Board games. Go check them out. Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it. LHS baseball shutout Joseph Enterprise Wallowa on Tuesday, 10-0 to end their regular season. They end up 12-9 overall, 7-5 in the GOL. Their playoff game will be on the road this Tuesday. The opponent is yet to be determined, so we'll know once it all pans out exactly who they'll play. They got games going on today for teams to play in, and LeGrand was second in the GOL. Baker made the playoffs too. They have a play-in game today, and LeGrand was second, Pendleton was first, so LeGrand and Pendleton both made the playoffs, but we won't know who they're playing until after the games today. Maybe after the games tomorrow too. I think there's a couple playing games tomorrow as well, so we'll figure it out and we'll talk about it next week. LHS softball has senior day this Saturday versus Joseph Enterprise Wallowa at 1:00 down at Pioneer Park. They will most likely host the playoff game on Tuesday, same day, the 21st. We don't know who they're playing yet either, because the 4A is weird. They do it different than 5A. 4A does like the top 8 teams, I think, in the rankings, or actually they do it by conference. So the top 2 teams in each conference automatically get in, and then they like rank the rest of the players. In 5A, they just take the top 16 teams in the rankings, and then they bracket those 16 teams and they play. They don't do the same thing in 4A, and I don't really understand why, but it's OSAA. You know, I saw a thing for the school my son goes to, Dallas, and it's called an endowment game. And what they do is they charge, so it's not a playoff game or anything, but they charge everybody $8 to get in. And the only pass that gets you in is the media pass that I have. Not even a gold card or nothing. And I read about it because I was interested. All the money goes to OSAA, 100% of it, to their fund or whatever, and then they kick back the school 30%, and you have to cover your costs or whatever. I don't know if I like that. Like I mean, like.
And that's for a playoff game?
No, that's for just a regular game to support their booster club or whatever, the OSAA, foundation is what it's called, and it's like, I mean, like, I'm not the hugest fan of OSAA anyways. But, like, when I see that, like, I'm glad LeGrand doesn't do that in endowment games. Yeah. Like, you have to pay to get into playoff games anyways. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even more. And
Right.
and passes are no good for playoff games. And then you're going to add one more game a year where, you know, you're playing. Here's what I don't like. I don't like the fact that you're paying for your kid to play the sport. You're buying all the gear. You're paying for them to go on road trips, and then you got to turn around and pay to get in to watch them.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
To me, I just don't. But I mean, I understand it. But the whole OSAA part of it is I don't know. I think if OSAA wants to make money like that, they need to do a little better job. Like when it comes to rankings, and there is stuff that OSAA does good. Don't get me wrong. And I mean, you pretty much have to have a governing body for high school sports, but they do drop the ball in several areas, including rankings. And
Well, they create. I mean, and it's the officials for the games. I mean, that's probably the most important thing they do. I don't know, in my opinion.
they don't oversee the officials.
They don't oversee it. But what?
The officials are their
They're
own
their own
entities.
organizations.
Yeah, they're their own organizations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, hey,
there's
go ahead
no-
and finish. We'll
yeah.
talk about this more. Yeah. Sorry.
Anyways, EOU Track and Field is getting ready to head to Marion, Indiana for the national meet. Yesterday on the sports show, I had two athletes and head coach Ben Welch. You can find the interviews on our network. Ben Welch was named the CCC Men's and Women's Coach of the Year. He and I talked about it yesterday. Check it out. Another year done with the CCC Coach of the Year again. How do you even know how many you got?
Actually, Rob Cashel, the conference commissioner, sent me a summary of it. Between cross and track men and women, it's 29.
29?
Yeah. So I didn't know. Rob had to total it up for me, to be honest.
29 in how many years? 35? 30?
Well, we started doing conference, this version of the conference in the mid-90s. So almost 30.
Yeah. So essentially, like, if we looked at it, at least every other year,
Yeah,
you're
about
getting.
averaging about one a year, I guess.
Wow.
Between it. Granted, that's 4 opportunities. So
Yeah,
that
but
helps,
still,
but
that's.
yeah.
I mean, to just
Yeah.
perform that consistently, how do you keep doing it? Like, how do you keep getting these recruits?
I don't know. Some days I ask that myself. A lot of it is we just look for the diamonds in the rough. We don't have the checkbook to go out and buy the big heavy hitters, so we try to find the diamonds in the rough. We'll probably get to her later on, but Taylor Joyce from Crane is a tremendous example of that. Although that was a little bit, that one polished up a little quicker than we expected.
Ben talks about diamonds in the rough, and like not necessarily finding the big hitters. And man, he's good at finding people with potential and developing them into great track athletes. It's crazy. And he talks about Taylor Joyce there, who's one of the athletes that I interviewed on the show yesterday, and she's only a freshman, and she's already winning the 400, in the CCC, and just. Like was jumping 8 and 9 in the pole vault in high school, and she's like over like almost 12 feet now, and that's crazy. I mean, like that's 3 feet difference in 1 year. He just does a great job developing and obviously finding. EOU softball lost its first game yesterday to the 2-seed and host Georgia Gwinnett, 2-0, and then in an elimination game versus Southeastern University out of Florida, they were down the entire game thanks to a couple untimely errors, and the Mounties rallied in the bottom of the 7th, and then this happened.
And deliver the biggest pitch of the ball game. 3-2. Swung on, ground ball, back up the middle. This has got a chance. Leatherwood rounds third. It's bobbled in center. The Mountaineers win in walk-off fashion. Goliath moves on to Championship Thursday in the NAIA opening round.
Haley Tyree with another walk-off game winner. I think that's her third one this year. It's at least 3. It's either 3 or 4, but I know for sure that she's had 3 walk-off game winners this year, and that's just remarkable. that kind of resilience is crazy. It takes a lot out of you, though, like mentally and emotionally. So we'll see where we stand. They play this morning in the championship in the Lawrenceville bracket at 9 o'clock our time. They got to beat that team that beat them yesterday twice today, Georgia Gwinnett. And that's a tough task. Georgia Gwinnett has the defending NAIA National Pitcher of the Year. And they've just been tough, and it's their home team. That game's at 9. It's on their YouTube channel, Georgia Gwinnett Athletics, and I'll post a link in the comments so you can check it out. It's going to be exciting. I mean, it's going to be so awesome if we can get the first win, and that second game is going to be crazy if it and I'm saying it's going to happen. I think it's just kind of like destiny right now for this Mountie team. It's blue and gold this weekend, which is all the events kind of centered around the spring game for the football team. Here's a look at the schedule for the weekend. They have a couple scrimmages. They have the blue and gold alumni game for soccer teams, both the soccer teams. They have a golf tournament on Friday. They have a Texas Hold'em tournament Friday night, and it's just all about raising money really for EOU athletics. And they're doing like a competition right now. I think it's like Bleed Blue, Give Gold is what it's called. And each one of the teams has a different dollar amount that they have to raise. It's a competition based on how many athletes are on each team. So, I mean, if you're interested, help them out with, a lot of their money in their budget comes from boosters and fundraising. That's the AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit right here in LeGrand, just for the fun of it.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Man, what a tight game that was. I mean, I was watching it in my office and hollering. Yeah.
I was walking down Adams on the way home. Just bebopping along, watching it on my phone. I had the volume all the way cranked up.
Yeah.
And then I was yelling. it was,
I'm sure there were other people around the city, and
there's probably people that knew what I was doing. I mean, I would imagine that anybody that knows sports knew what I was watching.
Yeah.
The football team, somebody, Justin Tyree, Haley's dad, he posted a video on social media of the football team at EOU, and they had just got done with practice, still had all their pads on, and they were watching it in the locker room, and they just blew up when she got that hit. They still got a long ways to go, though. I mean, they got to win both games today, and then they got to turn around and it doesn't get any easier from there. I mean, we got 3 teams in the CCC left, so Southern hasn't lost, so they're in a different bracket, but they have to get beat twice today. If they win one game out of 2, Southern moves on to the final site. And then OIT is in the same position as us. They lost a game. They got to win twice today. And College of Idaho lost 2 games, and they're done. But you got 3 CCC teams left out of the 4. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Playing in the championships. I'd like to see all 3 teams go. You know what I mean? Southern is hot right now, though. Man, Southern's hot. They beat Marion. They didn't, they finished 3rd in the conference. Or no, they finished 4th. They finished behind C of I. And ever since they beat us 2 out of 3 that last series of the year, they've just been on fire. I mean, the only team they've lost to is us in the championship.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been quite a little run for Southern, but that's normal. I think they made the final site like 7 out of the last 8 years or something like that, which is crazy. That means you have to go win this little pod to make the final site, and they've done that like 7 out of the last 8 years.
Wow.
I think OIT's done it like 4 or 5 times in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if EOU wins the first game today, how much time is there?
40 minutes, and then the next game starts.
Wow.
It's right there in the rules. I mean, it's for everybody. It's
right.
You play that first game, and then 40 minutes later, you're playing the second game for the championship.
Wow.
But if they win that first game, all the playing field is even. You know what I mean? Like, you're just playing one game for it all.
Right, right.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's even because Gwinnett is still the home team, which is why you should probably donate some money to EOU softball because we don't have the facilities here to be a host when we should be.
Right.
EOU should be hosting this bracket right here because they take the top 10 teams in the country and they get to be a host. Well, because we don't qualify because we don't have the facilities because we don't have bathrooms. We don't have bathrooms. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? It's like the fairgrounds. Like,
Right.
We have a ballpark and no bathrooms, and then we don't have lights too, which is a huge.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you end up passing that off. So there was 2 brackets where the number 2 seed was the host, which is a huge advantage. I mean,
Right.
if you got OIT playing at home, you know what I mean? They're in the same boat as us. They got to win 2 today, but they're doing that on their home field.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a big difference. The jet lag, the time change, the fans. You know what I mean? It's just it would be nice to see. And I think if EOU softball keeps playing the way that they're playing and they keep progressing and they're a fixture in the national tournament, then eventually they'll have to do something. I mean, because you know, if I'm a head coach, like, and not saying that she would do this, but I would say, you know, and I'm taking my team to the national tournament every year, I'm going to the AD and saying, look, I got other places that I could coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not. We work hard to make it to the national tournament, and then we turn around. We're a top 10 team in the country, and then we don't get home games because we don't have the facilities. We got to figure this out.
That'd be frustrating.
I mean, our track team has some of the nicest facilities in the whole country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like football has some of the greatest facilities in the country.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd love to see it kind of match up. I mean, even our wrestling team has nice facilities now. Ever since the field house got open, the whole old gym is the wrestling room now, and they're not wrestling in an old auto body shop anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm sure it's on somebody's radar, especially now.
I would think, but putting the lights in well, the first thing we need to do is turf the field.
Yeah.
That's got to happen. And then putting the lights is expensive.
Yeah.
Super expensive. So who knows? Maybe when they do that baseball renovation, you know, when they build the baseball field, maybe they'll just clump it all together and try to figure out a way to get bathrooms and a snack bar. And, you know, you don't have to have a snack bar, but you know what I mean? Like, you have to have a press box. So there would have to be a press box built.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's just certain things that the NAIA makes you check off in order to host. And I know those 3 are for sure: bathrooms, lights, press box.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen OIT's field?
No.
It's like a minor league baseball field.
Huh.
But they host. I mean, they host every year. They have a couple of families that are pretty well off that send a lot of money their way.
Yeah. That helps.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. I think Southern does too. Like I think Southern's got, and then of course C of I's got. You know, they just have money.
Yeah.
We're just a little podunk rural university in Eastern Oregon.
Let's go back for a minute and talk about OSHA and officials. So
OSAA.
OSAA.
Yeah. Officials.
Yeah, but it seems like maybe, I mean, I know they do something, maybe the certification
Probably.
or the qualification. I mean, I don't, there's some, right. I mean,
they're tied together somehow, but the
Right.
OSAA is not like in charge of the officials.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they don't decide who's gonna official what game.
No.
It's all based on your region and
No, but I mean, I'm sure that somewhere along the line, at least, they're somehow responsible. Which makes sense. I mean, if they're the governing body of high school sports in Oregon, then, you know, making sure that officials are there and qualified.
Yeah, that's what they certify them. Yeah.
Okay,
They do certify them, but they're not like you know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're not the ones that are in charge of them.
Right.
Is what I would say. You know what I mean? Like they
So
have
I wonder
their own little.
but I wonder who manages their pay. You know what I mean? Because the schools, all of
that's
the
a good
teams,
question.
all
They
of the
probably-
teams pay for officials in some manner, and I wonder if that money is funneled through OSA.
Hey, that's a good question. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but it would have to be paid by the schools, right?
Yeah.
Like so, it's probably a combination of things. I don't know if the school sends a check to OSAA or if, and then they handle it, or if they pay the refs directly.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea.
No, and I've mostly intersected with OSAA when it comes to streaming, and that's kind of our thing.
With Steve Walker.
Right, but there are times that you kind of get, that's with any governing organization like that. Whenever you have, because OSAA, they have big contracts they're big sponsors.
Yep.
You go to their page, you're going to see advertisements from Les Schwab.
This is their biggest one.
On Point Credit, okay. So anyhow, that's part of that money they're bringing in order to make the wheels go around and so on and so forth. Anyhow, it's just that there are times that it's not very clear.
I would like to see OSAA get out of that contract with NFHS. It's almost like the stretch contract with EOU.
It is.
With the CCC.
It is. And I'm not. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can't. I don't.
I think they should let schools decide. Like, we're at the point now where streaming's so common that there's no reason that every high school, should have a class.
Right.
Sports, whatever, broadcasting or whatever, and that class handles all the streaming, and they do it, and they sell advertising. Not the students, but they have a teacher, or somebody. They sell advertisement locally, and then they just stream on YouTube or on numerous platforms and put a couple commercials in, and they learn how to do all that stuff. That would be huge for high schoolers to learn that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think that certainly is at the heart. When I've engaged with the administration at LHS in the past, that's been their thought, is like, this is a great opportunity for our students to learn this skill.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. What I don't get with it is that how can, because of the very principle of the contract that OSAA has with NFHS is that NFHS has the rights for, they'll hold the rights for all of the championship games, all 100%. Of the tournament games.
Yep.
So all what that means is that as an individual high school, you don't even have the rights for the games that your players are playing in.
Right.
That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Right. I don't know how that happened. So, that's messed up.
It's the same thing with EOU and stretch. Like,
it is.
They don't. They can't sell advertising. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it doesn't make any sense. Like, I would imagine, like, if I had to guess, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, I would say like maybe 100 people stream an EOU football game, right?
Right.
Well, $8 a pop, that's $800. EOU gets half of that, $400. Yeah. They could stream that football game on YouTube for free, and 5 times as many people would probably watch it.
Yeah.
And they could sell commercials for that game and make more than $400 a game.
Well, and I know how that got. So I did football games. I directed. EOU bought equipment and essentially did the YouTube thing. This was early on in streaming. And I directed those football games back in 2011, I think is when it was. And that was before Stretch. But the way Stretch got into it is that they were just ahead of the game. They started the streaming thing a long time before anybody else.
Yeah.
And so for a long time...
That's NFHS too. NFHS did the exact same thing.
They were just early adopters, and they gave a path for schools to get their stuff online in some manner, And so that was the advantage then. But now, in streaming, the game has changed.
Yeah, it's like,
right, yeah.
It makes no sense to pay, to be in a contract like that nowadays.
Yeah.
Not at all. It just,
yeah.
Especially like a place like where EOU, like, you have to stream it anyways. Like, you're doing it yourself. You're doing all the work. You're just giving these guys half the money for a portal.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it does, like, okay, like.
No. The upside.
And it's the whole conference. It's not just EOU.
Right.
EOU didn't.
Right.
Sign
No,
the
contract is with, like.
It's with the Cascade.
Right. Yeah. And we've never talked to Rob about that. We
I
probably
forgot
should.
all about it.
Yeah.
But that's why I love it when we're playing teams that aren't in our conference
Yeah.
on the road, because then you ain't got to pay the $8 to watch the game.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
The accessibility. I mean, so I tuned into the very last, the perfect example. You know, I tuned into probably the last 15 or 20 minutes of the game.
Softball game, yeah.
Right. I'd have never done that if it had to be a pay-per-view thing.
No.
Never.
And I'll tell you what, Georgia Gwinnett, the team that hosting it,
Yeah.
their YouTube, they do a nice job.
It was.
They
It
do
was-
a really
it
nice
was good.
job.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. I don't like the center field camera shaking because of the wind. That annoys me. But everything else, their play-by-play guy, their color guy, they're pretty spot on. They know the players well. They know the game. It's like,
No, when I watched the actual
clear
production,
fuck
I watched
there.
the production part of it. I didn't even notice, and so that just kind of means that I didn't notice any errors. I
Right.
mean, it wasn't janky. It wasn't. Yeah, I just. You
yeah,
know,
EOU does a really good job too.
They do.
Very, very good
Gibb
job.
is-
Yeah.
Gibb is
he's
like
got-
super skilled, and that's why he's.
Softball's tough. Like, softball's going to be tough no matter what. Baseball, tough.
Yeah.
We know that.
Right.
And that Georgia Gwinnett, that's about as good as you're going to see of a production from
Right, right. And for
college.
people that don't know, it's like with football and basketball and even volleyball, you can get by with one camera.
Easy. Yeah, it's
I mean,
easy
you
compared
just,
to...
Yeah,
to-
but with baseball, no. You
got players facing two different directions
right,
for
right.
one
And
thing.
I mean, right. And so you can, you can put, and we've done that before. You can put a GoPro on the backstop and kind of get the feel.
That's
of the
how
game.
EOU does it.
Right, but it's not. It's it's a whole nother level to do a game at some kind of a like what they were doing
Yeah,
yesterday.
I think I think they use 3 cameras.
Yeah. Well, and the distance to that center field camera on the outside of the fence.
Yeah,
That's a long piece of cable.
225 feet.
Right. But the cable goes around.
I would
the
imagine
end.
they
Or
might
that
they
be
might
wireless.
use a wireless
Yeah.
adapter for that.
But still,
though.
that is a long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long shot, and you got to have a lot of lens with the camera, and so.
It's cool though. It's nice to see schools doing the YouTube thing and doing it right and actually care. Because there's some schools that'll throw a GoPro 4 that's
Right.
10 years old on a zip tie on the backstop and just mute it and leave it up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'll be, the wind will be blowing it all over the place. It's all grainy. There's a little smudge on it from last week's cheeseburger at the end of the game.
and there's a little piece of the fence where you're shooting through the backstop in the corner of the.
100%.
We've done all that ourselves. Yeah. So
That's
And yesterday, I mean, they even their scoreboard. I mean, they kept up the count.
Their graphics were nice too.
Right.
They had the lineup, and that's another thing that Gibb is really good at.
Yeah.
The lineups,
Right.
the starting lineups.
Yeah.
They had graphics. You know what I mean? It's just they
And what people don't understand is that half the time that information is dynamic. So in other words, the team might not know the lineup until a half an hour before the
Right.
game.
Yeah.
And, right. And so then getting that to the video people to create the graphic so that it's accurate. Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard in football.
Yeah.
Imagine the football, 22 starters on each team, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and trying to make a graphic for the starting lineups for football.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's easy in like an all-star game
Right.
because I just go to the coaches and I'm like, hey,
Right.
I need to know your starting lineups
Right.
a couple days
Right.
beforehand, and that's just how it's got to be. You know, what I
Right,
mean?
but you can, I'm sure that, I mean, I don't know how it is in NFL, but I'm sure that in some of those big games, even $1 million production, there's somebody in the ear of the coach just a half an hour before the game going, okay, is this really the starting lineup? Is this, are these,
I'm sure the big corporations that, ABC, NBC,
Yeah.
ESPN, they probably pay a guy
all they
that's
do.
just in charge of
that, all they're doing is like confirming.
figure out
is
what the
this right?
lineup is, and you screw it up, you're fired.
Yeah. Yep. No.
Especially baseball. Baseball would be the one where the lineup changes the most closest to the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like basketball, generally you pretty much know who's going to start based on who's injured and who's not. Football, for the most part, is barring like any freak accidents. The injury report comes out earlier in the day, and you know who the starters are just based off the injury report. But baseball's a little different because baseball, there's 9 guys, and it depends on what guys are doing. Depends on if the team's got a left-handed pitcher or a right-handed pitcher, on if you're going to have left-handed hitters or right-handed hitters. There's just so many different variables in baseball.
There's so much nuance in baseball too that it's just super subtle. And
Yep, I love when listening to people talk baseball that don't know baseball.
yeah,
Because it's just like, you just sit there, you're like, oh, yeah. And there's a certain coach, I'm not going to name no names, but very much says stuff that's very un-baseball-like. You know what I mean? And you're like, dude, did you even play? Like, what did you just say? Huh? And it's been numerous times. It's not like a varsity coach or anything, but I've just noticed that it's quite entertaining.
I think social media has been kind of interesting in kind of giving the background of baseball. I mean, there's a lot of social media posts out there where they show just a play. Yeah, they'll show a pitcher pitching or whatever it might be. Or I mean, the other day I saw one where the pitcher takes a different stance. Somebody's on first base, and he's leading off trying to steal the second. Okay, and so the catcher takes a different stance, and he does something with his glove to indicate to the pitcher to throw him out at
Just a pickoff move.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know that existed.
You pitch from the windup with no runners on. You pitch from the stretch when there are runners on.
Yeah, right.
In the stretch, you have to come set.
Right.
And if you don't come set, it's a balk.
Right.
So in the windup, you don't ever come set.
Right.
But there is an advantage to throwing from the windup. Most guys say you can throw a little harder from the windup, but there are some starting pitchers in Major League Baseball that never pitch from the windup. You don't have to. You can pitch from the stretch all the time.
Yeah.
You just can't pitch from the windup all the time when runners are on base.
Well, and what I saw in this social media post that I didn't understand is that since clearly the pitcher is getting ready to pitch, he can't see first base. So the catcher was watching first base, and the catcher did something with his glove, and then the pitcher threw to first and got him out.
Yeah, well, once he comes set, he can. I can see first out of the corner of my eye, out of my peripheral.
Right.
Just barely though. But when you're not set, you start open. So back foot's on the rubber.
Yeah.
And you start opened up so you can see. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you have that peripheral. But then when you come set, you're here and your back's to first, but you just kind of peek.
Right.
But the catcher does usually call the pickoff.
But the runner on first. I mean, they can see the head. They can see the motion of the pitcher, and they know that he's being looked at.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so, anyhow, it was it's just super subtle stuff that.
There's a lot of
wouldn't
rules
even
in
see.
baseball that a lot of people don't know too, and softball.
Right.
Just little. There's differences too. Like in baseball, a pitcher, you can't have anything on your wrists, nothing on your hands. Besides for your glove. You can't wear a batting glove underneath your glove. You can't wear the play thing on your arm. You can't wear sleeves that are the same color as the ball. In softball, it's different though. Softball, the pitchers can have all this stuff. You can't have anything hanging out your pockets.
Yeah.
In baseball, but you can in softball. There's a lot of. When I used to coach. If a kid had their watch on or something on their hands, I would wait until they started getting in a groove, and then I'd call timeout and go out to the umpire and be like, "He's got to take that off," just to mess with them. You know what I mean?
So I saw one on social media the other day again that I just hadn't seen before, where guy was on third, the the guy at home hit a sacrifice fly, okay, and so, but the guy who was catching the fly,
Yeah, he deked him.
yeah, he faked it, yeah. So the runner on third took off,
Yeah, and then he had to go back.
and then he had to go back. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyhow, like
Yep.
yeah, again, I just like
That happens more often at
unique.
second base, like on a steal.
yeah,
If a guy's stealing and a guy hits the ball,
right,
a lot of times the shortstop or the second baseman will still go to second and act like he's, you know what I mean, just to get the runner to slide.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah,
No, that
there's
is like
a lot
and
of-
all of that stuff is just super subtle
Yep.
that you wouldn't, you know. But I remember the very first when I moved to Seattle. This was in '97, and I had never been to a professional baseball game, but had a person who lived there that took me all the time. Well, the very first game I went to, Randy Johnson was pitching. I had no idea. It's like, yeah, you're going to really enjoy this game. It's like, I don't have any idea who this dude even is. You know?
Right.
And, yeah. But
Hall of
anyhow,
Famer.
but thankfully he was he was super patient, and he taught me like, okay, now watch this. Now watch, this is what's going on, and yeah.
There's some guys that'll go to baseball games. They're so into it. They're such fans that they'll wear their headphones so
Yeah.
they can hear the radio, the play-by-play.
Right.
And then they'll also bring a score book with them and keep score. It's crazy, man. Like that's a good way to learn baseball too. Is keep score sometime and like keep it right.
Right.
A lot of people, there's not a lot of people on this planet that can keep a real score book in baseball.
Right. And in baseball, it's not just score, it's runners.
There's all
hits,
kinds of stuff
all
you keep
of that,
track of,
all of
pitches,
those stats,
everything. Yep. It's
Yeah, see, and I don't even know all that stuff.
yeah.
I mean,
You keep a running score. You keep an inning score. You keep
Right.
every batter has little boxes, with the field, and you track where. It's crazy. It's tough. Keeping score in baseball is
So I had a
a
friend.
learned skill for sure.
I had a friend who he loved baseball, grew up with baseball, grew up watching it in the Midwest, and when he was driving by himself, he would make up imaginary games and call them as he's driving. So he'd make up. So he knew all of the players and all of the positions, and yeah, and so he
This
would,
must have been pre XM radio.
probably yeah. So, but I always thought that was like, you do what, So.
Yeah, it's each their own. You know what we never did? We never looked at the weather.
Oh. Yeah.
Let's take a look.
We got outside. Yeah, we just kind of kept rolling. It's
a nice
pretty
day
outside. It's going to be hot today. Isn't that what it was? 980 something?
Is it?
Yeah. 78.
And then it's going to drop back down
Yeah.
to in the 60s.
Yeah, and so then the rest, but it's not until next week that it looks like we're going to get any moisture. So the next few days, this weekend's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. It's going to get cold at night, though. You see that? Into the low 30s?
Yeah.
Oof. I wonder if we have one little stretch of cold left. We might, man.
Yeah.
We might have like one more little 2 or 3 day
Yeah.
bender where it gets down into like the 20s maybe.
So hey, who's watching? If you're out there and you're watching, send us a comment. I'm always curious. Sometimes we have people and and there are people that will watch and I don't even know.
Bud's probably watching.
Bud's probably
imagine.
watching, yeah.
He usually does.
Because we're just jawing on about whatever comes up. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No guest.
yeah. Well,
There's nothing real interesting on the in the news either.
no.
Not locally. We got the commissioner and judge and
Yeah.
sheriff race, but the sheriff race doesn't matter because that won't be decided in
Yeah.
May.
So something is kind of interesting. Okay, so there's 4 people that are running for District 29, I think it is. And
District 29, what?
okay, so Bill Hansel has been a senator in Oregon for years and years. Okay.
Bud's watching.
Okay. And Bill Hansel is retiring. And so then there's four people that are running for that, Todd Nash and
What is that? senator?
It's state senator.
Okay.
Okay. So Todd Nash and Andy Huey.
It's the people that had that
Right.
thing at
Okay.
EOA.
Yeah. So, but they're all Republican, and even though, so technically, if there should be, there's a group of Republicans that are running for this race, and technically there should be a group of Democrats that are running. And then the winner of those two are the
Go
ones
against
that
each other.
the ones that run in the November election. Okay, well, there are no Republicans. Excuse me, no Democrats.
So we'll just know.
Right. Yeah. So then whoever wins this race next Tuesday, they will be on the ballot in November. but
Running
they'll be
unopposed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something. It took me a little while to kind of.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe if maybe if I was one of those guys, I'd switch to independent real quick.
Yeah. Well, and that could be. I mean, that is a possibility. So somebody.
Does that have to be established beforehand, or can
I
you
don't-
switch it like right in the middle of the game?
No, it seems to me like somebody told me, yeah. So like, unless an independent throws in, then whoever wins but I mean, there's a possibility that an independent could be on the ballot in November going against whoever is the winner.
So if it's all Republicans and I was an independent, I could just call a few people and be like, "Hey, write me in as an independent," and I get a few votes, and all of a sudden I'm in the.
I mean, I think that when, like in the November election, there probably will be a write-in slot.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. JD says, Colton says, get your hair cut, Dodds. I will as soon as I win my bet. It's getting scruffy. Tanya told me the other day that it's starting to get curly in the back. I'm like, oh no. I never had my hair this long before, ever. Maybe when I was like real little, when my mom used to battle with my grandpa, because mom liked long hair. Grandpa, as soon as we got to grandpa's house, buzz cut, flat top fade. And ever since then, I've never had my hair anywhere near this long.
So I saw your aunt and uncle yesterday.
Oh, Ron and Nancy?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out at the Pleasant Grove Grange, they have a luncheon and
Out in Somerville?
yeah. And I went out there and
They've been involved with that Grange for a long time, Ron and Nancy have.
that's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
I mean, it's over 100 years old. The floor is over 100. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and just its location too. It's like
Yeah.
right at the foot, right at
Right.
the face of Mount Emily. It's very nice.
It's easy to miss. It has that loop through driveway, and I end up missing the first one and having to take the second one to get into it and stuff. But no, beautiful little location.
What, were they out there for the luncheon
Yeah.
too? Huh.
Yeah.
What was it for?
It was just a luncheon. I mean, they have a monthly luncheon.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, and they had invited me as a candidate to come out and greet them and answer questions and so on and so forth.
Cool.
So yeah,
That's
so
cool.
that was kind of cool. So
Yeah, they've been involved with that for, I don't even know how, probably 50 years, I would imagine.
well, and what I didn't know is, I mean, Granges are a thing. I mean, Granges are there's an association of, and they have been like for a long time.
We have one here. We got that Grange out there on McAllister, is it?
Right,
That
right.
goes across
Right.
towards the
well, and
highway
it's,
out there.
Well, and it's kind of like the original, if I understand them right, kind of like the original gathering. I mean, so what were you had city centers and you had churches that were gathered, but I mean, one of those things was like
the old
a
Grange
Grange. It was kind of like a community center.
We need more of that
Yeah,
nowadays.
right. So it doesn't have a particular persuasion. It's just a way of people getting together.
Yeah, you don't feel any outside pressure from
Right.
religion or
Right, yeah.
any of that. It's just
Yeah, and it's kind of
come hang out.
Yeah, and that is very much. I mean, they have on their bulletin board. There's hey, this is a nonpartisan, non-religious, it's
that's
just
cool. That's cool.
just a place for people to get together. So
That's cool. I'm getting excited. We got softball in 16 minutes.
All righty.
16 minutes, BC.
Well, why don't you get us out of here, and we'll.
Well, let's do it. Like I said, if you want to watch that game, go on YouTube. I'll put it in the comments here. But it's just, you can just Google, or not Google, go to YouTube and search Georgia Gwinnett Athletics, and it'll be the first thing that pops up. On this day, 1861, May 16th, 1861, the Confederate government offers war volunteers a $10 premium to sign up. Could you imagine? I'll give you $10 if you sign up for the military in 1861. But $10 in 1861 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Confederate.
Yeah.
$10, 1861. Sign up.
Yeah.
Man, you know, I was looking at the number of lives lost, American lives lost in war.
A lot.
And still the Civil War is the number one.
Yeah.
Like
and Vietnam's got to be number 2.
No, it's not, actually. 600,000.
What would number 2 be?
Number 2, I think, was World War II, 250,000. So, Vietnam.
Okay. Well, so do they count? They must count everything. Like, do they count? Are you only talking about like military personnel, or are you talking about all the civilians that died at like Pearl Harbor?
This is mainly, I think those tallies were military personnel that died in war somewhere. But anyhow, yeah, I was surprised when I looked. Anyhow, totally off the subject, but.
1862 on this day, Jean-Joseph Etienne Lenoir builds the first automobile ever. 1862.
Wow.
1939 on this day, U.S. food stamps are first issued in Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
1985 on this day, Michael Jordan named NBA Rookie of the Year. It's crazy because a lot of people think 86 was Jordan's rookie year because he didn't have a major basketball card till 86. So his 86 Fleer is the Jordan rookie card that's worth all the money. I mean, it's the one that you want to have. And he was actually a rookie in 85. 1986 on this day as well, Top Gun, directed by Tony Scott and starring Tom Cruise, premiered. 1986. 2011 on this day, Space Shuttle Endeavour launches on its final commission in space.
Wow.
And then 2019 on this day, according to a global drug survey, British people get drunk more than any other nation. The average person, so this is, gets drunk in Britain 51 times a year. That's once a week. And the most drinking happens with English-speaking countries. Which, I mean, not us. And
Right.
You know, but yeah, the UK is the most drunk country in the world.
Wow. Interesting.
It's not surprising. I mean, they party over there. Yeah. The number one song in America on this day in 1984, Hello, by Lionel Richie.
Hello.
And then the quote for the day is from Paulo Coelho. Don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear. One more time. Don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear. Like I said, you can go back and watch the Ben Welch, TJ Davis, Taylor Joyce interview. It's out on all of our platforms right now. The week before, Nicole Christian, Caitlin Evans, and who was my other one? Oh, wow, I had a brain fart. Kelly Monahan was the week before. So, yeah, if you want to see any of those interviews, they're all out on all of our platforms. And, I mean, I think that's all we got. That's pretty much it for this week. Another week in the books, halfway through May.
All righty.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks, you guys.
Appreciate you.
Yep. See you
See
soon.
you on Tuesday.